What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben and welcome back to the bench for a brand new episode here on our 1/48 scale F3H-2M Demon. Today we are going to be jumping in on paint, so that requires masking, marble coating, pre-shade, post-shade, tons of different colors of paints. We have a lot of work to do for sure, but it should be fun. So starting off, we're going to do some marble coating with different color grays by Tamiya and then some deck tan as well. Then we might throw in a couple of additional colors, I'm sure. And then we're going to overcoat that with our top coat of light gold gray by Mr. Hobby Aqueous. I love that paint brand. And that should give us a really nice top color. And then of course we have like the nose, glare panels, the flaps, the ailerons, the engine cone, all that good stuff to paint up for some detail painting. And then for the undersurface, we'll be using some Insignia white. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to get the brand of paint I wanted, so I went out and I had to pick up Vallejo Model Air. Not necessarily the paint choice I like to use, but it should look decent enough with our light gold gray. I just find Vallejo to be a little bit more inconsistent, I guess you could put it. Regardless, we're going to use it. We're going to have some fun. We're going to paint up what we need to paint up. So we're going to jump into our first time lapse and we're going to start off with some marble coating with sky gray, neutral gray, deck tan, maybe some white, maybe some red brown, any color I can possibly think that might look good on this. And we're just going to get in there and we're going to have some fun. So let's jump on in here, guys. Let's grab our airbrush, grab our paint. Let's start doing some work. Alright everybody, we are back and so far so good. The marble coating, the pre-shade, the post-shade, all of that has gone really, really well. So we're going to move on now to a bit more of the detail painting because we've got a lot to do on this particular model. And for our pre-shade and for our marble coating, we did use a bunch of different colors. We used flat white, sky gray, neutral gray, red brown for a little bit of some contrast, and then did a little bit of white here and there for some fading. I also went ahead and painted the wingtips. As you can see, I masked off the Insignia white portions for the flaps, for the ailerons. Turned out decently, a little bit of overspray here and there, but I can touch that up, shouldn't be a problem. I think we're looking good. I think we're moving on here. Next, we're going to go ahead and shift our attention over to all the leading edges of the aircraft because it typically has metal on the leading edges of the wings, on the tail, around the intake, and even the rear section here for the engine and for the little blast panels behind the engine. So a lot of masking will have to be done. And after this is all masked up, we're going to go over that with our black basing that we get from All Clad. It's very, very shiny, glossy black. and that should give us a great coat to go ahead and then apply our metal colors on top of that. And I think I'm going to be using some all-clad chrome. Even though it's a bit shiny for this application, once I hit it with a gloss coat, it's going to dull it down. So yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I think it'll be fine. So let's go ahead and get in there, guys. Lots of masking to do. This is going to be a really tedious job, but I think if we do it well, it's going to look really, really sharp. Let's grab that tape, get out our all-clad, and see how we turn out. Alright everybody, so we are back, and as you can see, we did a ton of masking. We masked off the leading edges of the wings, of the tail, the leading edges of the intake, as well as the engine cone and the little blast panel right behind the engine. All of that was painted with our gloss black base by Allclad, and then with our Allclad chrome. I also went ahead and took some jet exhaust and just painted around the engine burner nozzle itself, just to give that a little bit of color differentiation. Now that we have all of that painted though, we need to come in and unmask everything, and that's going to take a little bit of time, but but not nearly as much time as it took to actually mask the areas. Masking is so tedious, but it's extremely necessary for sure, especially with these little detailed parts. So let's go ahead and pull off all the rest of the masking, and then we can turn our attention over to the other areas that need to be painted. And that's going to be, again, pretty tedious. We also went ahead and painted the leading edges of the folded parts of the wings, and again, those turned out beautifully. I did have to go ahead and try to mask off the wing fences, and that didn't necessarily go as well as I had planned. Probably a better system for that would be to put those on at the end of the build, but I didn't want to contend with any sort of glue spillage or any issue with super glue. We also painted the leading edges of the tail planes, and we have a little bit of some sanding to do on the very tips of each of these planes. But so far so good. Let's go ahead and jump into our last time lapse of the day, and we're going to focus on all the other detail parts, like for example, the front anti-glare panel, the front nose of the aircraft, a little bit of tail detail, and some wingtip detail as well. We also have to go ahead and paint up some of the antennas, and the Demon had an array of octagonal shapes along the bottom of the aircraft that were different types of antennas. So we're going to go ahead and have to paint those. They tend to be a little bit like a peach color. So we're going to look through my stash, see what I've got in my paint. We're going to give it our best shot. So let's go ahead and jump back into our time lapse and finish off today's episode, grab that tape, and see how we turn out. Alright everybody, so we are back, and as you can see, the Demon is fully painted. We've got the light gold gray up on top, marble coated, a little bit of preshade and whatnot. Looks good, and the undersurface has insignia white. We have our 3 antennas painted with some Tamiya flesh, as well as we've got our gun panels painted flat black with our nose, anti-glare panels, and of course the rear air brake wells. Did a lot of masking, went through a ton of tape, but as you can see, I think the results are worth it. I tried to go ahead and make the top coat a little uneven here and there. Even though it wasn't necessarily hugely weathered in our references, I still wanted to give it a little bit of some interest, so I'm happy with it. We also went ahead and painted the folding portions of our wings. You can see them right here, looking pretty sharp. I did end up painting on a black antenna right there as well, which does show up in my references. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how these have turned out. We also went ahead and painted up the wheels and the hubs of the wheels. Have a little bit of touch up to do on the nose gear, but more than likely we are good to go. And then I painted up the landing gear struts. And I have done a little bit of off-camera test fitting, and these do drop right into place. And I think it's much safer to go ahead and install these after you're painting. Otherwise, I would have broken mine off, so better safe than sorry. We also went ahead and did some detail painting there on the rear tail planes, so those are ready for installation. Like I mentioned, I want to go ahead and glue those in slightly canted upward. I think that'd be kind of a neat look, and I see that in my references anyway. But for today, we are done. We have done so much painting, so much detail work, but I think this is coming along, and I am really happy with how it's turned out so far. We still have a lot of work to do, though. We still have our gloss coat, our decals, our weathering, so that'll be next episode where I'm hoping to go ahead and finish off this build and move on to something else. So until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. You know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, and we'll see you back here for episode 9, hopefully the finale of our F3H-2 Demon here on Ben Builds Military Mondays. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.